I have with me in the studio a professor of genetics. He's been here before, particularly at the onset of the COVID-19 pandemic, and he raised a lot of issues surrounding the pandemic against the background of the protocols upon which decisions were taken, against the background of the conflicting statements that were coming from the World Health Organization, the United Nations, and the Center for Disease Control. Today he's back here just to look at some of the issues that have dominated the Nigerian health space in the last couple of days, weeks, and months since the pandemic broke out in December in Nigeria. I'd like to thank very especially Professor Cyril Otoikhuan. Is a professor of genetics from Novena University. Prof, it's always a delight to have you.
Thank
how
you.
are you doing today?
I'm cool. I'm good.
Okay.
How are you?
I'm okay. I'm good. I'm
fine,
well. I'm
fine.
excellent.
Good.
All right. So, looking at the trend today, one, it's easy, like they will say, it's audible to the deaf and visible even to the blind, that some of the predictions that were made earlier are coming to fruition. For example, are coming to reality. For example, the daily increase in the number of cases, and also the number of deaths has also gone up. I mean, within a week, we heard about two very prominent individuals that passed. Senator Abiola Ajimobi, former governor of Oyo State, and then just yesterday we heard of a judge who died in an isolation center, the chief judge of Kogi State. This has been the trend. Aren't they suggestive of what was predicted initially, or are there other things on the line of current you think we can adduce from what has happened so far?
Sonny Duke,
yeah.
When it started, I think, like you have rightly said, I have been here severally.
Yeah.
And first of all, let me clear it that when issues come up and people are addressing issues, it's not every issue that when somebody contributes an idea is meant to destroy or disregard anything any person has done.
Okay.
But in science, we believe that it's quite dynamic. Science is a dynamic subject.
Yeah.
And everybody has an idea to contribute to a situation. So everybody's idea should be collectively brought together so that we will see possible results.
Okay.
Like I told you from the beginning, there is something that, a question that has not been answered. Remember I mentioned it, I said, what is that procedure that leads to somebody being classified as positive? See, somebody goes to isolation center and dies inside isolation center does not mean that person was infected by COVID or whatever it is. That person could have a pre-existing ailment that the person carried to that center and could die there. So, like from then till now, we are still in the blues. We are yet to understand the scientific basics, because all we have heard is PCR analysis. But let me tell you that for the person who designed PCR protocol had scientific basis on which that protocol was designed. Okay. So you follow it up and it leads you to confirmation of something. Do you understand me? So if you look at PCR analysis is not meant to diagnose a non-living thing, for example.
Oh, was it designed for a
No, because we're looking at DNA from the cell. We are looking at a sequence. Are you getting me?
Yes.
And when you are using PCR analysis, there are a lot of complications in PCR analysis. I have asked, when you take the sample, for example, of somebody you suspected to be infected with COVID, then you take the blood sample. For you to be able to get a genomics, which is genetic parameters or values of that substance that you are looking for, you must be able to isolate that substance. Nobody has been able to isolate COVID-19 as a substance. That is my fear, and that has been my challenge. And I'm saying it again and again that if we are unable to isolate a substance, then whatever genomic report that you are giving is faulty. It's faulty. There are a lot of literatures and all that. And like I told you then, and I also explained here, is that before COVID, during COVID and after COVID, once human beings are living together, there's bound to be birth rate and there's bound to be death rate. So before COVID, people were dying. During COVID, people will die. After COVID, people will continue to die. Then the information now is this. The people that are dying, what is actually killing them? We have seen reports from a lot of even developed world where analyses were done, like Italy had to now say, okay, let's step aside World Health Organization protocol. Let's do something smart. Let's do an autopsy. And I remember I mentioned it here. When somebody died, and I said, bring the dead body. Then let's bring scientists together. All of us are putting head together. So nobody should feel one person has that monopoly of knowledge in terms of attacking what we call a pandemic situation, something that has cut across the world. Yeah. So we should be able to accommodate each other and fine-tune what could happen. Yeah. You understand me? Yeah. So, but there are a lot of prayers, and one or two persons will feel maybe you want to take over his office, or you want to divert some attention to yourself or whatever. But for a case that involves people's health, everybody should have opportunity to contribute. So up till now, nobody across the world has been able to identify what COVID-19 as an entity is. And I remember I came here, I did a cross analysis from the symptoms given, from the genetic background of what COVID is, before even the pandemic was declared. Yeah. Good. I think from then, a lot of things have shifted. The first one was that it's a virus, and virus is a living thing. And I remember I came here. So if people like, if persons like Dr. Fauci and Butar can agree, as we are talking now, that virus is a non-living thing, I think we are getting ahead a bit close to what I have been saying. So when we identify it, they will be able to attack it. Because if I ask you a question now, what has happened to the herbal solution from Madagascar? What has happened to the one discovered in Nigeria by a Reverend Father? What has happened to the new one they are talking about, either from Ogun State or somewhere around the Oyo State? You see, how do you find a solution to what you don't know in terms of health conditions? Yeah. I was in a media house and I asked the doctors who are with me on a panel, and we were trying to look at COVID-19. And I asked them, I said, have you ever treated any case on proxy? That is, somebody just came and sat opposite you after normal greetings, then no question at all. Then you just take your paper and you prescribe chloroquine. We take care of you, so you can go. It's funny, because it does not have any basis for it to work. Yeah. So you're not expecting any results. Then two, in terms of COVID-19, I have read a lot of publications, thousands and thousands of publications on media these days, mostly Google. And of recent, thank God, of recent, about 100 and something was pulled down of those from material. A medical, yes, a medical journal. Research material. Yes, a medical journal. In fact, precisely a medical journal has to pull down some publication. Why? Yeah. Because they now discovered that the conclusions of those research findings were faulty in describing COVID-19. Most of them as viruses that are living. And some of them that will even tell you that outside the body is a non-living thing, inside the body becomes a living thing. So I now ask, so has science so changed that you now have living things, you have non-living things, then between the two, you now have one that you classify as intermediate between living and non-living things. These are false. So when you act on false or things that are not right, then you don't expect results. All right, Prof, let me ask you this question. Can we now establish that based on the initial information and then the current information that the basis of some decisions taken were faulty? For example, the lockdown, use of face mask, and a host of others. Can we establish that some of those decisions were faulty? Well, even before now, if you follow up the social media, in any other publications that you see of recent, you see people are already challenging some of those decisions. Like I told you, if you base your decision on a falsehood beginning, then you are not bound, you are bound to have no result, no positive result. Let's look at, for example, the lockdown. Good. When there is an outbreak of disease and you classify it as respiratory, which means it is airborne. It travels through the air because you breathe in the air. And when you breathe in the air, it enters. Good. Then you can say, okay, fine. We want to lock people in. But there is a lot of controversy over COVID-19, either being airborne or not airborne. So we will tell you it's not respiratory any longer. So where are we heading to? Because if you now say, okay, lockdown, keep everybody in. I know of recent, there is one that just happened, and a governor's daughter is positive to COVID-19. Then the question that will arise is this: has she not been following up the guidelines issued towards response to COVID-19? She must have. She has been living in a very decent environment. We want to assume that she must have taken enough time inside the house. Good. And I mentioned it here. I said, if a disease is airborne and it's respiratory and it's a virus, then there is possibility that even when you are locked in, it will affect somebody. So when you lock people in, and you are saying that the condition that is threatening life, that is resulting in locking the same people in, means improved immune system. I mentioned it here that when you lock people in, one, you make them docile. Then when they are docile, their immune system is bound to drop. And when it drops, so what happens when they have interaction with that virus we are talking about?
It becomes susceptible to its effects.
Fast. And it kills faster.
Okay. Another raging issue is that in Africa especially, we are looking at proffering a cure for COVID-19. In the Western world, in the civilized world, so to speak, of course spearheaded by the World Health Organization and then Center for Disease Control in the US, led by Dr. Fauci and co., they're talking about a vaccine. I heard recently that over 100 vaccines are already being, they're in the works. And then recently, the World Health Organization came out to say, well, use of hydrochloroquine, use of chloroquine or hydroxychloroquine is not really good for the body, it's not really healthy. Then they had one, mectazone or so, a new drug that they now recommended. What to make of all of these conflicting positions? In Africa, we talk about a cure. In the Western world, they're talking about a vaccine.
Let me clear it here that at a point, I got a bit almost disappointed about Fauci's position. Fauci is a researcher in area of viral studies and exposition. They study virus. So when they study virus, what do? They produce virus, and they know, and they also study how you can expose virus. Those are their business. Fauci, Bota, late Elizabeth. I mentioned it here that Elizabeth died of viral infection. She was producing it, and accidentally, the thing affected her, and she died. She had symptoms. So if Fauci, as somebody who has spent part of his life researching a virus, cannot come out openly to tell the world what was produced so that they can find an antidote to it. Viruses are chemical substance. There are no vaccines that you produce that will take care of virus. Let me ask you a question. Why are we mistaking vaccines for treatment? Vaccine does not treat any ailment. It doesn't. It doesn't treat disease. It prevents the body. It's a preventive measure that when such outbreak comes, it will not affect you.
Your body immune system can resist it. The antibodies can fight.
Good. Yeah. So when they are now talking about vaccine that they have not been able to find a cure to, a treatment to, it's funny. I'm a scientist. So I have listened to several videos and comments from Fauci. At the beginning, he was talking like a scientist. But all of a sudden, he deviated. Okay, in the white world, they are talking about vaccines. How long does it take to produce a vaccine? The ones they are talking about, when did they produce it? So they got it even before the pandemic was declared. Let's get it clear. While back home in Africa, we are looking at herbal solution, herbal solution. The question is this: yes, fine. There are solutions to every problem. Yeah. But before you get a solution to a problem, you must understand what that problem is. So if I ask my brothers and sisters who are producing several, these days you have a lot of even herbal solutions. Where do they come from? Plant extract, is it not? Yeah. But I remember I have gone to 1 or 2 universities. When you go to the Department of Botany, like I've mentioned before, yeah, check their billboard and check the motto. All herbs are medicine and all medicines are herbs. So whether orthodox medicine, they come from plants. Fine, but before you can say this herb, so this herbal solution will cure COVID-19, then you must be able to understand what COVID-19 is. So if, for example, from all we have gathered together so far, we know that from the treatment, which was prescribed, because the funny thing about COVID-19 is this: somebody is recommending a treatment, yeah, is recommending a vaccine. Then look at the history of that person. Well, the person is not a scientist. He's not a medical doctor. He's not a virologist. He's not a microbiologist. He's not a genetics. But he's giving you the genetic composition of what he does not know. And they will mention this thing and the whole world will swallow it and use it and adopt it hook, line, and sink. When chloroquine issue came, I remember I challenged it on one of my interview, and I said, how can chloroquine, because I know chloroquine is a drug, and for every drug, I'm not a pharmacist, but for every drug there is an active ingredient. That active ingredient was to attack protozoan. Protozoan is far class different from a virus. Yeah. So how will it just automatically? But because it was recommended by somebody who was not a medical doctor, I was waiting for when the person will retrieve that statement. And that has been done. Okay. So the question now is, for those who were now administered chloroquine, that has resulted in death of some of them, we all know, even if we don't say it, and has caused side effect for a lot of them too, which may not be public, what apology has been rendered to them? Now we are saying, drop it, it's not effective. It's even causing more side effects. Take another one, metazone. Let's look at metazone, for example. I know that these days, people say I dive into a lot of areas, because I wonder why all scientists have gone to sleep. And that is why COVID-19 is still thriving. By now, I thought it would be ended. Because if we all are putting heads together, there is no problem that will not have solution. Metazone, for example, hope you know that it's a steroid. And as steroid has a lot of side effects. Ask any scientist. Ask the pharmacists that produce them. They have a lot of side effects. And what are the basic components or active ingredients of most of those steroids? Is to bring down pains. So are we now saying that COVID-19 is all about pains? I don't understand. If it is all about pains, then there are a lot of things we can even use to suppress the same pains. So it becomes funny and laughable as we are heading on. But I know that it will always end up like that, because I made reference to several conditions of viral conditions in terms of epidemics and pandemics in the past. And I said it always ends up in something coming to the market. But people will look at it strange. But I took time to study it. If you look at HIV, for example, it was a virus. As announced, that virus is sexually transmitted. Yes. And not until a solution came. And what was that solution? 90% or 95% of that solution was condom. And I have said, as scientists, let them go to the lab. Put a condom under a light microscope and see the perforation, because that thing is produced from latex. Yeah. So if you look at the perforations on condom, for example, you discover that the size of a virus compared to the smallest perforation, as published by a lot of scientists, if you check publications or research from condom or whatever, you discover that the smallest perforation is 9 times the size of a virus. So like I always tell people, I say the virus can somersault out of it and infect the other person. But if you look at it from the other side, you discover that condom, the spermatozoa cannot pass through the perforations of condom. So which means it's more of a population control than defending somebody against viral infection. So then when we now look at all the prescriptions so far for COVID-19, why can't they just open up and say this COVID-19 is the same thing as malaria? Then we attack it. Then let all the herbalists everywhere go into the bush, bring these substances, produce the solution they call the herbal solution.
So is COVID-19 also more or less a package for population control?
Yes, it's a package for population control, because we have heard about vaccine. And remember that it's not everything you hear of these days that you just discard. When the issues of somebody saying vaccine trial will start from Africa, my question was, why Africa?
Where you have a lower number.
Where there is lower number. Why Africa? I remember I mentioned it, and I even asked you too. I said, Sonadu, why will Israel come to Nigeria and remove their citizens? Why will America come and remove their citizens? When people are dying more in their environment, in their home, and they are safer here, but they are taking them away. So why do you remove people from a safe environment to an unsafe environment? And I told you that there is something in the future to come. And we're already seeing it, that an African country has allowed the trial of a vaccine that the component is not even known. Because if you say that vaccine is to prevent infection of COVID-19, then what is COVID-19? Explain it to me scientifically. Give me the genomics analysis that you have done and the sequence, and let's look at it together. Then I, as a geneticist, will be able to advise you that, look, you are deviating from what is right, so you will not get a result. So if they are testing that vaccines, and we know the histories of vaccines, somebody is in charge of marketing vaccines, so he must keep his business going. And that is why virus will come and will go. And this one that have even come, we have been told by World Health Organization, which I have accepted, that we must be prepared to live with it permanently for the rest of life. I agree with them.
Why do you agree with them?
Why I agree with them is that because it does not exist. Because if it exists and it's going to be killing people the way it's increasing every day, then it will come to a time, Sonny Duke, that even staying at home, even when you lock yourself in, you are not safe. Everybody will die one day.
But does that deny the fact that coronavirus doesn't exist?
You have used another word. There's a difference between coronavirus and COVID-19.
Okay, does that deny the fact that COVID-19 doesn't exist?
COVID-19 does not exist as an entity. We know that coronavirus has a patent right issued by America to Wuhan lab. So why is the concentration of Wuhan lab? What do they do in Wuhan lab? Do they produce toothpaste? No. Do they produce car? No. What do they do in Wuhan lab? Wuhan lab is for study of virus. So that patent right was given for them to study virus. And most scientists, the top scientists in Wuhan lab that goes to Wuhan lab for any study are from America. So that's why I'm still challenging the white world. Tell us what you people have done so that we know how to take care of ourselves. And also even help you people to take care of yourself better. So if all the scientists, the top scientists, Fauci, Buta, Elizabeth, and some other ones are Americans, and they go to Wuhan lab, and they are paid heavily for studies in Wuhan lab, then it's like a bird, I have mentioned it before, a bird cried in the night over the roof, and a child dies in the morning. You don't need a native doctor or a bishop or a pastor to start interpreting that Prof, there is linkage.
Prof, you said we don't know what COVID-19 contains, but we know for sure that it's a virus.
It's not a virus. From all we have seen so far, it's not a virus. Because one, if PCR is used to diagnose or confirm COVID-19, then COVID-19 must be a living thing. It must have cells. So if it has cells, and we have seen all the treatment teaching towards malaria, then it has something to do with malaria. Malaria is not a virus. Or do you want to now tell me that malaria is a virus? Some of you, even if you are not a scientist, you can open the Google, open several things and read.
Those things there.
Then you see it. See, let me tell you something. I had to bring you one or two papers this morning.
Okay.
If you look at this paper, there is a component here. He said, does PCR have any limitation? It doesn't. But it has direction to what you can certify as confirmed with that analysis. Are you understanding me?
Yeah.
And that the PCR can only be used to identify the presence or absence of a known pathogen or gene. A known pathogen. This very morning, when I put on my television, I saw a pastor preaching. I have to listen to him. And while he was casting and binding COVID-19, he mentioned that it's mysterious. Nobody even knows what it is. It's mysterious. Nobody knows anything about it. So how can you now use a protocol that is designed by somebody and all the steps are clearly stated, and he has told you that it must be used for a known pathogen? Because when you are carrying out that analysis, there is what we call control.
Yeah.
Which you compare what you are seeing with.
Yeah.
So how did they do it? So what did they arrive at?
All right, Prof. Before I let you go, what's your final word against the background that at the initial stage, some pastors, some public affairs commentator, some analysts came forward and made some revelations which were really not known to many people. These people were classified as conspiracy theorists. But as the days went by, some of these conspiracy theories, as were propounded, as they were called, were actually coming into reality. What's your final thoughts along those lines?
These days, when you tell somebody or you give an idea out that you know, gone are those days where we were limited in terms of knowledge. There are different avenues to confirm anything you hear from somebody. And when things start happening and you are following up the procedure, you know whether what has been mentioned by somebody is becoming reality or not. From all we have been seeing about conspiracy theory, if we are truthful with ourselves, we know that we have already achieved more than 75% of conspiracy theory. Yeah, we have. And we are going towards the end, and it will come very soon.
What is that end like?
That end is that when the truth now comes out, and everybody now realize that we have been fighting an unknown enemy, and that enemy, at the end of the day, it ended without us seeing it, and we didn't even see the enemy at all. We could not identify it, and you get tired. Then everybody will be released, and we will be free. And we only tell ourselves, thank God we escaped it, but we escaped nothing, because nothing was even chasing you.
In the first place.
In the first place.
All right, Prof, thank you for the thoughts that you brought to bear on the conversations on the COVID-19 protocols. Well, our purpose is to give you other perspectives. As you know, the science world, the scientific world is evolving, and it's not limited to any individual. And it's an opportunity, an avenue for others to make contributions. And the natural thing for you to do is to interface what has been said, what you already know, and then you can make sense of it all. But we always advise, because it's there now as an order, executive order by the government. So we still encourage you to adopt some of the protocols that have been advised to be adhered to. Use your face mask when you are in a public environment. Wash your hands regularly, and ensure that you use your face mask when you are in a public place. And if you cough or sneeze, don't use handkerchief. Preferably use the tissue, which of course you can dispose immediately. And if you don't have any of those, you can just use the bent section of your elbow. I mean, the bent section, that's your elbow. And then, of course, observe all of these protocols. God willing, someday, sometime, not too far away, this will be a thing of the past. But something critical that he just said is that many of the theories, conspiracy theories as they were called, 75% of them, they've come to the fore. So it means that they are really not conspiracy theories. We're actually being told the truth. But those who have the authority, the power, have the capacity, somehow were leading us in a direction. But the conspiracy, so-called conspiracy theories, give us the flip side for us to see what truly was coming or has been on. And I'm sure that we're better informed now. We know better now. That's it on this segment of the show. Prof, thank you so much for coming on the program.
Thank you very much. And I also join you to tell everybody to stay safe.
Stay safe.
And obey
the protocols.
The government conditions given.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
That's it on TMI segment on COVID-19. We'll be back with the rest of the program in a jiffy. Then go away.